So you can see here I have some casts that I'm going to talk about, but like I promised, I was going to show you guys the two impressions that I casted at Phillips Lake. So here's the first one. Now, I'm still uncertain about it, but you can definitely see some major toe spread here. I think the main heel is somewhere right in this area. You can see 4 toes for sure. There could be another one somewhere in here, but I'm not sure. The area was pretty beaten down from all the rain we had, but you can see that is the first impression. Now the second one is this guy. Disregard this part. This is just where I built up the dirt as a dam because this thing was at an angle, and this is just leftover plaster that poured up. This is probably where the toes would have been, but with all the rain we had, there was no toes. One thing that's interesting about this is how this track comes and then kind of pans out. Still don't see any indications of a boot, but definitely has a nice bend to it, some flexibility. It's pretty much an ugly cast, but yep. So those are the two I casted out at Phillips Lake back in June. Of course, this one right here, that's my own foot, 11 and a half. I highly recommend, if you're going to get into casting tracks and stuff like that, you should do your own foot. It's a great comparison to compare to other tracks that you may find out there, and you should always have a human foot to compare to possible Sasquatch tracks. You can definitely tell how narrow my arch area is and my heel compared to, let's say, like this one, for example, much wider heel. Now, this was a track I found back in 2019. It's a 12-inch track. You can definitely see some long toe stems coming off here, some big, I mean, these toes are just nice and big. A lot different than mine. My stems aren't as long as these are. And what's really cool, I don't know if you can see the details, but there are dermal ridges throughout this track. Now, there was a whole set of these tracks, so I casted a left and right foot. This is the other foot. This is all in mud, so that's why you have this kind of distorted look to the cast. It's all in wet mud. But these were 12-inch tracks that we found. There was 3 sets of tracks altogether. I think it was a 4-inch track, 8-inch track, and then this 12-inch track. And they were interesting. Definitely in an area where you wouldn't expect anybody to be walking barefoot. Especially these tracks, we backtracked them, and they came down from a rocky hillside from the woods, across some marshlands, along this water edge of the lake, and then they actually walked into the lake and then came back out a little further down, and then they crossed the road and then into the woods, and that's where I lost the tracks. But these two were in 2019 in an area of interest for me. Now, 2 years later, same area, we casted this bad boy. Of course, looks this way because it was all in wet mud. You see a big old toe knob right there, some other possible digits right there, but that is a 13-inch track, and I'm almost wondering if there's a possibility between these two tracks. Could this one have grown into this one now after 2 years? I don't know, but you can definitely, there is definitely a large shape here. Definitely a big toe for sure. Now this one also about a size 12 was also in the same area. This one was more exposed to the elements, so the toes were gone. You can still feel a couple digits in the cast, but not much. But you can see the nice flexibility of a possible mid-tarsal break that you hear so much about. Same area, same time frame as this one, so it was 2001 when this track was casted. Now, about a mile as a crow flies, about a mile and a half or whatever, is where these tracks were found. Were just, like I said, a mile and a half from this location. So I find that interesting that we were finding similar looking types of tracks just about a mile or so apart. Now about 2 miles apart was this one. This one was found last year up on Sand Canyon. You can definitely see a big toe knob there. There's a couple more digits in there. This was an older track. It's been there for a while. It looked like it was kind of like a angled side step. So the heel actually comes right through here. But this was taken up on Sand Canyon Road, just outside of Chihuahua, Washington. And of course, these two were up at Phillips Lake, off of Sand Canyon Road, outside of Chihuahua. And this set, this one, and this one were all taken about a mile and a half from the Sand Canyon location. So it's interesting that all these tracks were found generally in the same general area. But what's interesting is these tracks kind of match up with the activity that we've been experiencing at this one location, and activity happens every 2 years. So we found these in 2019, and then the area was dead for a while, and then 2021 we came across larger tracks moving through. Well, there you have it, guys. A little show and tell of some of the stuff that I've casted over the years. I actually enjoyed doing this. I have 2 more totes full of other stuff that I've casted over the last 15 years. I may sit down and actually make another one of these videos and discuss some of the tracks and the details that are in them. But of course, I am no foot expert, so I can only speculate on all of this. Does it mean that this is proof of Sasquatch? Technically, no. A person could easily have a 13-inch foot, 12-inch foot, you know, but the locations just seem very odd to be walking barefoot in. Very rough areas, and not saying that people don't do that already, but the interesting thing is that the step and strides were a lot longer than mine for most of these things, except for the 2 at Phillips Lake. There was no other tracks, just these 2 impressions. But yeah, so a little show and tell here. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. So I will catch you guys in the next video. So see you then. Have a good one.